All right, you guys, so welcome to Thinking Maps training. I appreciate you guys signing up for it. Just a reminder, we have 4 sessions. They're 2 hours each, today, tomorrow, and then Monday and Tuesday of next week, okay, 3:30 to 5:30. Okay, so everyone has their materials already. Yay. Okay, so Thinking Maps is a language for learning. Okay, I want to show you this funny Peanuts cartoon that kind of gives us an idea of what Thinking Maps came out of and what it's all about. So we see a student here. Am I daydreaming? No, ma'am, I wasn't daydreaming. I was just conceptualizing. Okay? Which we all have this happen from time to time, I'm sure, in our classrooms where you look at a kid, okay, did you get anything I just said? And they're like, yeah, sure. But there's really no proof of it. And you're the one who's doing all the work. And this happens when we talk at students instead of having them doing part of the work as well. Okay, so today's agenda, you're going to answer the following essential questions. What are thinking maps and why do they work? What's the purpose of each map, because there's 8 individual maps? How do I teach the maps to my students? The question, how do I use the maps to help students develop literacy skills? That will be in a follow-up training that we're going to offer, hopefully by the end of the year, if not the beginning of next year. Okay, and also what resources and support will I get? You will have me. I'm on your campus. Okay, and I've been doing Thinking Maps now for 3 years. It's a really fun program to do. So, and also other people as well. There's other people who have been trained in Thinking Maps as well. Okay, so table of contents, introduction. Today we're going to be going over chapter 1. Okay, and then tomorrow we're going to be going into chapter 2. Well, actually, sorry. Let me back that up. Okay, this initial training of 8 hours, we are going to be covering chapters 1 and 2. Chapters 3, 4, 5, and 6 are going to be continual follow-up training. So, and don't worry, they'll be paid. Okay? So, but in chapters 1 and 2, the theory and thinking maps introduced and some sample lesson plans and getting you thinking about how you're going to incorporate these into your classroom, hopefully as early as this week. Okay, and then going later into literacy, we have academic vocabulary, literary analysis for the content connections, because these maps can be used in any class. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's core academic or also elective classes, okay? In further trainings, we're going to do a lot of curriculum and lesson planning and curriculum planning, okay? How you can use them throughout the year. I'm hoping at the beginning of next year we could do that. And then self-assessment and self-assessment questions. Okay, but again, today in this first initial 8 hours is going to be focusing on chapters 1 and 2. Okay, so to give you some information about me and also to model one of the first maps, which is called a circle map. Okay, so there's me, Jen. I go by Jen with 2 N's because I thought it was unique, because having the name Jennifer is not very unique. Okay, so here's some information about me, some things that describe me. I'm a high school English teacher and an avid and dual enrollment coordinator. Okay, I'm also a computer geek, those of you who know me. Most people call me and go, my computer's not working, before they call help desk. My parents do that to me all the time too, which is fun. I'm a vegan, but I won't say meat's murder or anything, because, you know, that's my own business. Okay, mother of 2 children. We have Nikolai and Danica right here. Nico is 7. Danny is almost 2. She's going to be 2 at the beginning of next month. Some things I love watching movies, even though with having kids I don't get to do that very much anymore. Reading books, same thing. And then going bowling. My husband and I's first date was at bowling alley. Yep, I won. Okay, I'm asked all the time, how do you do so much? Because I feel like I'm pretty much on every committee. And then I work at Central High School and love it. And then here's my frame of reference. Okay, the movie Stand and Deliver, and you'll understand in a second why I'm naming these things off. Miss Gaffield, my 4th grade teacher, my parents, and my students. Okay, my frame of reference for this particular strategy is talking about the things that have inspired me. Okay, one of the things that first inspired me to become a teacher was my 4th grade teacher, Mrs. Gatfield. Okay, one of those reasons is my 3rd grade teacher, Miss Tanita, was awful. Okay, and so when I had such a great teacher the next year, I found that's why I wanted to be a teacher, because I had had the extremes of both. I had had the horrible one, and then I had the great one, and I wanted to be like the great one. Okay, the movie Stand and Deliver, we've all seen it, hopefully. If you haven't, go see it. Okay, my parents, they're both teachers. They both taught in Phoenix Union, so they very much inspired me to become teachers as well. And then my students every day inspire me to continue to want to teach, most of the time. Okay. All right, so this is how one way you could teach the circle map to your students. So you guys are going to do that, and you can do it on the posted paper. You also have these example thinking map things that are laminated. Of course, you don't get to keep those. Those are mine. Okay. But now I want you guys to do what I did. Okay, go through this map. In the center circle, your name. Could be what you have your students call you. Okay, could be
this big thing or this thing?
Either one.
Okay.
What either one you want to do. If you have a piece of loose leaf paper, you could do it on that as well. So you're going to have your name in the center here. This is all about you. This is defining you. This is describing who you are. Okay? And then on the outer circle, things to tell about you. What are some things about you? Okay? And then your frame of reference are people who inspired you. People who have inspired you. Or things that have inspired you, not just people. Now, one thing while you're writing that I want you to notice is, did I tell you how much you had to write? No. I didn't give you a magic number of how many things you have to write. It's just how many things do you think tell us something about you? Maybe it's something we already know, like Mr. Kazanis. He is our Stugo advisor, and he's awesome. Co-advisor. Sorry, I don't want to insult Miss Lim there. Okay. He also does great with our newspaper program and our announcements. So those are just some things that are awesome about him. Okay, my student teacher here. She has a beautiful little boy that is just so, so cute. Looks just like her. Sorry to... Mr. Paul Bordelot is our librarian, and he is right now top in the district for how many books have been checked out. So, yes, inspire a love of reading. Let's hope we can make it go further and further. See, another thing about me that I didn't include on the map because I had already put the PowerPoint together before it happened, on Wednesday of last week, I became a godmother. Yay! My best friend had her little boy who was 6 weeks early. But because he's, little chunky, he'll be okay. Because, when they have the extra weight on them, they do fine. His name's Preston Marcus. And he's an amazing little boy. And then you also do a circle around the things that tell us something about you. And then the square is your frame of reference, so people, things that have inspired you. And it doesn't just have to be your career. It can also be personally things that have inspired you. And also, this is a great first week of school icebreaker activity? All right, it looks like everyone is, for the most part, done. Are we good? Maybe thumbs up, show me that you're good.
Waiting on Paul.
Waiting on Paul. Okay. Now what you're going to do, you're going to be asked to share. Please pass your map clockwise to the person in your group. So. Then you're going to read over their map and circle one thing that you would like to know more about them. So something you would like to know more about what they wrote. Okay, and then if you have more than 2 people in the group, pass again to the next person. And then you continue passing until you've gotten to everyone in the group has circled something.
It's funny because when I get cut off by those people with that sticker, so I do portable drivers. It's fun. There was a church that you saw the world with a flame on top of it. Yeah, so those
Mover and shaker. Nice. Okay, has all the groups had a chance to see everyone's map and circle at least one thing you would like to know more about them?
Yes.
Okay, now that you've gotten your map back, you're going to choose one of the things that's been circled, and you're going to write about 3 sentences explaining it more. So whichever one you chose. Hey, just to humor me, could someone pick one of mine? That way I can give an example too. Anyone want to know more, even though I'm kind of being a vegan? Okay. I'm going to write that over here while you guys work over here, and I'm going to steal a marker. Okay, and you can write that on a piece of paper, on a Post-it, whatever you want to do.
Excuse me, young man, please put your phone away. It's supposed to be in here. Try to find out what a vegan is.
Thank you for asking that question, Pacho. I'm going to have that be my 3rd sentence.
What way?
Yep. And also because I respect for the fact that you guys are adult learners, like if you need to answer a phone call real quick or a text, I'm not going to take away your phone. You know, if you want to come get another cookie, bottle of water, if you have to use the restroom, you don't have to ask. Okay, so I'm going to share my 3 sentences while you guys are finishing up, and then we're going to go round robin and have everyone else share as well. Okay, so Mr. Kazanis wanted to know more about me putting vegan down as something that describes me. I've been a vegan for the past 6 years. I became vegan to lose weight and also prevent health issues that run in my family, such as cancers and also heart attacks. Vegan is someone who abstains from consuming all animal products, including milk, eggs, and honey. So yes, but I have plenty that I can eat. I post them on Facebook all the time because I get asked the question, well, what do you eat then? Okay, I pretty much eat everything else.
My question about the honey.
Honey? Yes.
It's not an animal product.
It's derived from bees. It's anything that's living. So, and I know plants are living, but it's like anything that has like a face and arms and a body and stuff like that. So, and it's,
red dye. You know red dye is made from
yes.
insects? Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep, from the crushed up bodies of female beetles, right?
Carmine.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and yellow number 5 and all that
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, I've learned a lot over the years.
I
So.
found out about vanilla, artificial vanilla.
Hmm.
It is,
The way it's
no,
processed.
it's beaver bud. Yeah, it's a gland from a beaver that they process into a artificial vanilla flavoring.
Wow.
How do we map that?
All right, so now we will get to that. All right, so let's go in round robin style and just share your sentences, okay? All right.
Well, somebody said called Suzhou, S-U-Z-H-O-U, which is my hometown, so that's why it's important. Suzhou is my hometown. It is dubbed as Eastern Venice, since it is famous for its waterways, bridges, and gardens, classic gardens. It is located in the rich and fertile Yanjing Delta.
Wow. Good job.
Someone circled traveling and mover and shaker. So I've traveled around the world to study and live and experience different cultures. Hence, I'm not afraid to move. So I've moved a lot in my adult years, and I like to shake things up. That's why I put shaker.
Nice. All right, Margarita, you're next.
So someone circled animal lover. So my little story behind that is I've always loved animals, which led me to bring stray dogs home. Even though I knew my dad disliked having pets in the home, I would bring a dog home and ask to keep it after the fact. It was always in the hopes that they would say yes since it was already there. As such, I've always had a dog at the home, which I currently have a Pomeranian and a cat.
Very nice. All right, continue on.
So I'm not sure if you circled it, either of you circled it. One of the things that inspired me to become a teacher, or that inspired me to become a teacher, was my tribe. And I wrote, knowing that many young people in my tribe drop out of high school, I wanted to serve as a role model to encourage them to pursue higher ed. I plan to teach in my hometown one day and possibly serve as a teacher.
Very nice.
Someone circled Dr. Scott. Dr. Scott's the executive director of Conti Girls, a culturally responsive technology program for underrepresented female adolescents, and I was a part of it. And through this, I have grown a passion for technology and social justice issues. And through that, I've also been able to make my friends and my family. So we're all really proud of my accomplishments.
Very cool. Paul, you're next.
I worked at Bostrom, Circle Bostrom. I worked there for 15 years. Started a library there for a student SSR. Started on the municipal library, what title the students like to read, what students read.
Very nice. All right, Pacho, you're next.
Military. I actually have military on mine twice, but one of them was circled. I did 5 years in the Army, Saudi, South Korea, Kuwait, Texas, because it's really a different country if you ever go there. I repaired the Patriot missile system.
Very cool.
I've circled sports, and I've been a PE teacher for many years, and I just teach health right now, but I basketball in high school. I coached a little bit of high school basketball. I was an athletic trainer in college. I've played tennis numerous years. I am a hockey fan and I'm a Coyote season ticket holder for basketball.
Ooh, I like hockey as well. Not the Coyotes, but it's okay. My husband got me into hockey watching the New York Islanders, which I'm not very proud to admit that's my team right now, but that's beside the point. All right, Nick, go ahead.
One of my certain ones was mountain biking, and I said mountain biking has been a huge part of my life. After moving from California back to Arizona, I needed something to fill the void of surfing. I had nothing that was like exciting, so I started mountain biking. And I put it's a great experience to go out and just like be alone with your thoughts, but it's also a great family activity, and I started doing it with my boy.
Very cool.
And, good overall activity.
Right on. All right, Aaron.
We circled sibling rivalry. So my sister and I completed our undergraduate together, and then we had all of the same classes at the same time. I was one. And we tried to beat each other in our grades.
Very nice. All right, Michelle, go ahead.
Someone circled USMC Brat, because my dad was well, he's been a Marine for over 30 years. He's retired now, but everything that I kind of like hold dear has come from my dad being Marines, because that was just a huge impact on my life. And so I was never in the military, but just me having a dad as a Marine, he taught us so many different things and just had such a huge impact on my life.
Very cool. All right, and then last but not least.
This was about archery, and I got into archery through First Sergeant, and so I'm helping coach archery over there, and I really just fell in love with archery. It's a good outlet, like you were saying. I can do it in my backyard, and it's quieter than
That's true.
It helps me get, out of the little practical world and get to go see all the other kids and stuff, and it's also it's like if you want a relationship with them, you have to join as well. So thank God I have my archery. So,
Very cool. That's really awesome.
so encourage kids as well.
I will. So do you guys see how this could be a great first day activity or even just first week for the kids to get to know each other? And you can either do it as a full class or just in individual groups, depending on how long you want to have it take. But it's a really good way not only for the students to get to know each other, but when the students turn in their maps to you or you hang them up in the room, which is very much encouraged. That way students can see each other's thinking and things about them. But you get to know them on a deeper level than just maybe giving them an interest inventory, which I'm not dissing those. But this is another way to get students thinking. Okay, so that was the circle map, okay, which again is used for defining things. Okay, and these are some examples, not my students' works, even though I could imagine my students doing this. Okay. If you want to have your students be creative and like add pictures, you could even do these on the, on the computer. I mean, just simple paint program, put 2 circles in and add text, then add pictures. Okay, and also thinking maps, you can use visuals, and it's highly encouraged to use visuals and not just words. Okay, so chapter 1, you're going to, and you've been introduced to thinking maps, you're going to be able to name the key points defining thinking maps, be able to explain the similarities and differences between thinking maps and just graphic organizers, because these are not just graphic organizers. If you have that idea in your mind, please let it leave, okay? Be able to identify the thought process behind each map, because each map is different, and the frame of reference that you can use. You can draw and define each map, and also have a beginning understanding of how to use these in a variety of curriculum areas. Okay? So first of all, okay, I was getting ahead of myself there a little. Hold on, got to get my notes up to date. The first thing about thinking maps is that they have visual patterns. Okay, and also if you want to turn to page 2 in your binders, a lot of the slides are going to have the page number that it references. Okay, that way you have the information as well. So the first thing about thinking maps is that they use visual patterns based off of brain research. Okay, because we have, from this brain research, they see that patterns are what help people remember things in a certain way, such as like remembering your phone number. We all know the pattern of the 3 numbers, 4 numbers, and we just have it down of how to memorize phone numbers, even though smartphones are making that less and less common. Okay, who's had to memorize a phone number in the past like 10 years? Not very many. Okay. A few very important numbers, but we all remember, or most of us remember the days where you had to memorize every single phone number or have it written down somewhere. Otherwise, you're like, I don't know how to call people. Oh, no. Okay. So I'm going to show you an example of a thinking map. Okay, this is called a brace map, which is hold apart relationships. Okay? All of the space in your brain that is devoted to 5 senses, 75% is devoted to just sight, what we see. And then the other 25% is evenly distributed amongst the rest of the 4 senses. So my question to you is, how does this information impact our instruction in student learning? How does that impact us? Have something visual. Because if we just talk at kids the entire 55 minutes, well, only 25% of what their brain is going to be devoted to is listening to you, and then 25 divided by 4, Pacho.
25 fourths. Teach calculus, leave it in fraction.
Okay, fine, like 6 something, roughly. So like 6%-ish is going to be devoted to hearing, okay? Yeah.
It is.
That was good, that was great.
Yes. It's okay. But if we look on this here is that, yeah, students seeing you in the front of the room, are they really learning from just the way you stand? Like personally for myself, I move around a lot in case you haven't noticed already. Okay, but are students necessarily learning just from my motions, what I'm doing? No. Okay, but only about 6% of what they're learning is through what they're hearing from us. But if we add the visuals in there, we are much more likely to have students retain the knowledge in some way. And this is what really got Thinking Maps going is, well, what are the different ways students can see things and conceptualize things that we want them to learn in a visual way so it retains better in the mind. Okay, so 80% of all information that comes to our brain is visual. Okay, 40% of the nerve fibers connected to the brain are linked to the retina, so your eyes. Okay, and 36,000 visual messages per hour may be registered by the eyes. That's why I personally think it's important in your classrooms to have different educational things on the walls so if students start daydreaming off, they're going to register different things whether they're actively doing it or not. Okay, if you have the Thinking Maps posters up in your room and students are daydreaming and they look at that, they're going to start associating cause and effect if they daydream enough. Okay, if you show it to them, reference back to it enough, they're going to know that a multi-flow map is for cause and effect. And they're going to see, and we'll get to that later. Okay? Okay? One of the studies that was done when they were starting to create thinking maps was that we believe that probably the best strategies for teaching text structures are visual and spatial strategies. Okay, now, quick show of hands. When you're doing a lesson and you have something visual versus not visual, okay? Okay, wait, the way I'm doing this is backwards, sorry. Okay, raise your hand if when you're doing a lesson, students tend to get it more and be more engaged when there are some types of visuals involved. Okay, when you give them something to look at, something to reference, they tend to be more engaged because then it's getting to that other part of their brain. Okay, and that's kind of the basis with Thinking Maps as well. Okay, also some research connections. A lot of us have seen this book. It's a great book. If you haven't read it yet, it's awesome. Okay, by Marzano, Pickering, and Pollock, Classroom Instruction That Works. Okay, when they were developing thinking maps, they referenced that a lot about the 9 essential learning strategies or instructional strategies. Okay, and thinking maps can be used in all of them, in all of these scenarios in different ways. I highlighted the first one where it talks about identifying similarities and differences just because it's the easiest way to pair up a thinking map. Okay, and there's actually 3 different thinking maps you can use for that one. Comparing and contrasting, which if we look over there, is a double bubble map, which we'll get to later about how to set it up. Okay, also classifying information, a tree map, breaking things down. And then seeing analogies. Which one is seeing analogies? A bridge map, which that can be the most difficult one to get to, so we're going to have plenty of time to go over that one. Okay? So another part of the research for thinking maps was about dual coding theory. Okay, that knowledge is stored in 2 forms, words and then visuals. Okay, and how those words and everything associate with those visuals. Okay, so like it could be pictures, graphs, things like that. That's why they put pictures into textbooks for students, so they have some kind of visual representation to understand what they're learning about. Okay. Then here's some examples of that combined, where we have the linguistic and also the non-linguistic things showing learning. And are the words necessarily better than the pictures in these? No, because they're both showing the type of learning the student has had going on. Okay, there's another one. And I wanted to show you guys these ones in particular, even though these aren't ones necessarily my students have done, but it shows that these can be used in different contexts, okay? Because people tend to associate things like strategies to a particular content area. Thinking maps can be used no matter what content area you have. Okay, it also builds off of scaffolding. Okay, we've all heard the term scaffolding, building on students' knowledge. So just because you have them do one thinking map in your classroom, that doesn't mean that that one thinking map will never be used again. You can use it for different things, okay, and refer back to them and build their knowledge. Okay, which is why it's important to either hang them up or make sure the students keep a copy, or you have somewhere, like if you're doing the, oh my goodness, the notebooks, the interactive notebooks. That would be a great place to keep all of your different thinking maps. Also, if you have students do Cornell notes, you don't just have to have a piece of printer paper. Okay? For our AVID teachers in here and also anyone else using the AVID strategy of Cornell notes. All this where they would take the notes, you could put a thinking map right there and have them take notes right there. They can go anywhere. Okay? It doesn't matter. They can go anywhere. And again, having the students retain those or have them in your room somewhere, that way they can refer back to them later. Okay, so here's some brain research connection that, again, the first picture shows the part of the brain where we hear words. Below, right here, is the part when we're engaged in speaking or with speaking. The left one, which I know the way I set it up is a little awkward. Okay, the left one is when we see the words, or brain that sees the words. And then the right part is where we're generating words. And when you're using thinking maps, you're activating all of those, as opposed to just hearing the information. So we're activating different parts of the brain, which are going to be more likely to be stored in the long-term memory as a result. Okay, because we don't want our students to hear something we're lecturing on or we're trying to teach them, and then as soon as they walk out of the room, it's gone. Because it's not important to them. They have no association. They're just, and we've all had that happen. You come back the next day. Remember yesterday we were talking about this? Or like, no. Okay, but if you have a thinking map, you're more likely for the students to have those moments. Okay, so here are some types of visuals that we typically use in our classrooms. Okay, mind mapping. We've seen that. Okay, webbing, clustering. They have programs that are very expensive, dedicated to the different types of visuals that you could possibly use with your students. Content-specific graphic and graphic organizers, okay? like using Venn diagrams in math, even though in English we use them a lot too. Okay, we've adopted them. Plot lines. Okay, but one thing that these do not have is consistency across different contents. Okay, typically different contents will grab a hold of a few of them and hold on for dear life. That is the ones we're going to use. Okay, but thinking maps, like I've said, can be used anywhere, in any subject. It does not matter. Even like music, you could use them. Okay, you could use a flow map and put the musical notes into there to show the different parts of the song. Okay, where sometimes part of a song will get faster than slower. You could easily put that into a flow map. Okay, but thinking maps takes all of that information and puts it into 8 different categories: defining, describing, comparing and contrasting, classifying, seeing whole to part relationships, sequencing, analyzing cause and effect, and seeing analogies and relationships. Okay, so here is the overview of the different thinking maps, which again, they're over here as well. Okay, the first question: how are you defining this thing or idea? What is the context? What is your frame of reference? Okay, defining in context, you would use a circle map, similar to how we did the introduction to learn more about you. Okay, who would like to read the next part if you can see it? If not, I'll read it. But anyone like to read? Okay, who would like to read the second part for describing qualities? Okay, go ahead.
How are you describing this thing? Which adjectives would best describe this thing?
Okay, and that's describing qualities, which we would use a bubble map for. Okay, who would like to read the next one? We had a hand up. Go ahead, read the next one.
What are the similar and different qualities of these things? Which qualities do you value most and why?
Okay, so comparing and contrasting, you use a double bubble map for those types of questions. Okay, the next one. Go ahead, Paul.
What are the main ideas before you make it in detailed information?
Okay, classifying the information. What are the details? Okay, and you would use a tree map for those. Okay, who would like to read the next one? Go ahead.
What are the component parts and subparts of this whole physical object?
Okay, so we have part to whole relationships, which we use a brace map for. Okay, next one. Go ahead.
What happened? What is the sequence of events? What are the substages?
Okay, for that, for sequencing, we would use a flow map to tell our story or what happened within it. Okay, next one.
What are the causes and effects of this event? What might happen next?
Cause and effect, that's called a multi-flow map. And again, we'll get into these more in detail, but I just want to give you an overview today of what each of them are. Okay, and then the last one. Go ahead, Margarita.
What is the analogy being used? What is the guiding metaphor?
Okay, and that's for seeing analogies, which we would use a bridge map for. Okay, the next one, the next part of this, okay, based on 8 cognitive skills, which we just went over. Okay, describing, analyzing, part to whole relationships. This is just an example of one of them. Okay, can anyone identify which one this is? Which? Cause and effect. Okay, we got barbarian invasions, decline of morals and values, political corruption and inflation, led to the fall of the Roman Empire, and as a result, the breakup of centralized government. Okay, Dark Ages began, collapse of learning. Huh?
Put America instead of fall of Rome, put America right there. Everything would fit, right?
Which
Roman
thinking
Empire.
map would you use for that analogy?
This thing is called a, damn it, multi-flow.
For an analogy when you're analyzing something.
Oh, analogy?
Because
Yeah,
you just analyzed,
I know, you would use that one that we use for analyzing.
which is called a?
I don't know, it's like, I'm looking.
The bridge map.
It's called a bridge map.
Like, seriously, I really cannot, like, okay, yes, sorry.
Okay? The
Make
thinking,
excuses.
The thinking maps give students a concrete visual pattern for an abstract cognitive skill. Okay, the skill that we're asking them to use is abstract, but a thinking map makes it concrete. Okay, it makes it real to them. There we go. Okay, and serving our population, because we have so many students that live at or below the poverty line, I wanted to include this particular quote. The true discrimination that comes out of poverty is the lack of cognitive strategies. The lack of these unseen attributes handicaps in every aspect of life the individual who does not have them. Notice how I didn't say skill. It's not that our students don't have the skills. They just might not have the strategies to be able to use these skills. And so thinking maps is a way for them to be able to use their skills in a more concrete way. So let's remember that our students have these skills already. We know they do. Okay? The way they talk about things, we can see that they have these skills. But this is a way for them to put them down on paper, to make them permanent in a way. Okay, hold on, let me put my notes here. Okay. I want you guys to look over this particular quote and process this real quick. So process this quote. And then on your piece of paper, in your binder, or on a Post-it, I want you to write your reaction to this. Then after you do that, I'm going to give you guys about a 5-minute brain break. Because we know with our students, just like with ourselves, after about an hour of anything, you're ready to just decompress for a minute. Okay, so read it over, write out maybe your reaction, how you feel about it, and then take about a 5-minute break.